So, dear Tamar, thank you so much that you have accepted our interview proposal and invitation.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great honor.
Thank you. First of all, before we go on to our questions, I would like to provide our audience with some information about you, about your personality, and about your activity. So, Tamar Hermann is an Israeli professor of political science at the Open University and a senior fellow at the Israel Democracy Institute. Hermann is an expert in Israeli politics, public opinion making and its measurement, foreign policy making, civil society, and grassroots politics. Hermann's current research focuses on Israeli public opinion on issues related to national security and Israel's socio-economic agenda, the phenomenon of civil protest, and formal and informal mechanisms for strengthening national identity in the global era. Hermann's book, The Israeli Peace Movement, A Shattered Dream, was published by Cambridge University Press in 2009. She was writing a book on political, sociological, and cultural aspects at the Israel National Trail, Shvil Yisrael, to be published in 2017. So this is the caliber and the scale of the professor who is our guest today.
Yeah, indeed.
So
I just wanted to open by saying that you are interviewing me a day after we submitted the Israeli Democracy Annual Report to the President of the State of Israel, President Herzog, in which we actually tried to figure out where do Israelis stand on a variety of questions. We do it once a year. So I suppose that some of your questions will have very fresh, facts-based answers. So let's go ahead with your questions.
Let's start and let's go ahead. Thank you so much. So the very first questions of mine will be associated and connected to our bilateral relationships with Israel, and that's also common knowledge. You also know that in Azerbaijan we do pay much attention and do really appreciate our bilateral relations. So now I would like to state a address a detailed question to you. So how are Azerbaijan-Israel relations evolving, and what is your outlook on the future of these relations?
Okay, this is a very interesting question because most Israelis do not know that Israel is improving its relations with Azerbaijan in recent years. Actually, Azerbaijan is not on the cognitive screen of most Israelis. This area of the world is something that most Israelis, particularly Israelis who didn't come from Azerbaijan or Tajikistan or wherever, they know very little about the place. The context in which Israelis were exposed recently to the bilateral relations with Azerbaijan are against the background of the Israeli negative relationship with Iran. So Israelis started to understand how important the relations with Azerbaijan is because of its geographical location and the fact that we have some allies in an area that in Israeli minds is associated with negative relations. So people were really, really happy to start realizing that we can have allies in this area and not to focus only on Iran. Okay, so the realms in which we expect to have deeper relations on top of the security relations, because now Israelis are aware that there are strong military and security relations with Azerbaijan. But now people expect it to be expanded to commercial relations, tourism, and whatever. at the beginning of our conversation off record, I asked you, is it safe for Israelis to come to Azerbaijan? And you said there is no problem. This is something that I think the Azerbaijani authorities should make clear to Israelis. Because as you may know, Israelis are the best tourists in the world because we live in a very small country surrounded by enemies. So whenever we can go on vacation or in order to do business or whatever, we just need to be welcomed. So if you have an Azerbaijani delegation here, they should hire a PR, very good PR office to open this possibility to Israelis. Because, for example, many Israelis go to Armenia or Georgia or whatever. But we should know that Azerbaijan is also a welcoming country for Israelis. And I think that the sky is the limit because, I mean, all kinds of relations on the individual level, on the business level, on the state level is something that is very, very important and possible now with the changes in the Middle East to be developed.
Dear Tamar, and especially from also my personal side too, I would like to add, and you are absolutely right that we have been talking about that, had discussed this plot before we did switch on to our official part of our conversation, our interview. I would like the Israeli society and the population of Israel to know that it's absolutely safe to visit Azerbaijan. And plus, the population of Azerbaijan is absolutely, fully hospitable. And that also does refer to Israeli population and to those of our Israeli friends and guests who want to visit Azerbaijan. So come visit Azerbaijan and spend here unforgettable time.
Thank you.
You are always welcomed here.
So what's your next question?
What about my second question? That question is also associated with what we have already discussed. In which particular areas or sectors do you see the greatest potential for further collaboration between the countries?
Okay, so let's put aside security and military issues. I think that Israel can contribute much on the level of health and medicine and high tech, of course, because Israel, as you know, is entitled the high tech nation. Okay, and we are very eager to sell, but also to develop jointly with other countries these kind of high-tech ventures. And we have this kind of collaboration with so many countries in the area. It goes to India, it goes to Armenia, it goes to, I mean, all over. And some of the former USSR republics are improving their relations with Israel because of the high-tech industry, particularly as we have here people who are speaking the language, because we have Jews coming over from Azerbaijan making Aliyah to Israel. They can serve as a bridge, cultural bridge, but also technical bridge. And of course, we can learn a lot from the Azerbaijani people as well. So I think that if we will manage to have future commercial, technological, medical relation, but it's important to have it on equal footing. Like we will learn from you, you will learn from us. And it takes investing in exposing people here to the potential of such relations with Azerbaijan, because as I said, people just don't know. So having delegations here, having some kind of written materials or online materials that will introduce Azerbaijan to potential collaborators in Israel is very, very important.
Dear Professor, let's touch some international aspects. So the third question of mine will be the next. There have been rumors suggesting that Russia's withdrawal from Syria was the result of behind-the-scenes negotiations or that it was forced by the war in Ukraine and other external factors. What is your take on this?
Well, the situation changed dramatically in the last couple of weeks, as you know, because the Russians were a strong supporter of the Assad regime. They had many, many people, civilians and military men in Syria, in Tartus and elsewhere. And now, as the Assad regime collapsed, many Russians are going back to Russia. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, however, there are rumors that the Russians are planning some kind of a military campaign against the new rulers of Syria, the various jihadi groups that we still don't know what kind of a regime are they going to create in Syria. As to the Ukraine and Russia, it was a big, big dilemma for Israel because basically the affinity with the Ukraine is very strong. However, Israeli Foreign Ministry was very careful not to openly assist Ukraine in its struggle against Russia. Because Russia is a global superpower, even if less than it used to be in the past. And Israel didn't want to go head on with Russia. This is why the Ukrainians were complaining about the fact that Israel was not openly supporting them. We do know that Israelis who were formerly Ukrainian or came from the Ukraine went there in order to assist the Ukrainian army. But the Israeli government actually sat on the fence. They didn't associate themselves like many other Western countries with the Ukrainian campaign because they didn't want the Russians to become openly hostile to Israel while they were so deeply involved in Syria. So it all goes together. Once Russia, if will be out of Syria, maybe the entire equation will change. Apparently, it seems that the future is not so good for the Ukraine with Trump being elected in the United States. So you see, everything is connected. The US elections, what happened in Syria, what happened in the Ukraine, and what will happen with Russia, because there are some suspicions that Russia will have to make some huge moves in the Ukraine in order to protect its status in the region while after being kicked out of Syria. So it is all connected, and Azerbaijan is at the margin of this global, part of the world, and therefore the Israeli-Azerbaijani relations will be, no doubt, affected by the Russian situation in the Middle East, and if Russia pulled out of Syria because of what's happening in the Ukraine, I would doubt it, because the Ukraine now is trying to really establish its achievements, because they know that once Trump is in power, not necessarily they'll get the same amount of help as it got from the Biden administration.
Because of various reasons, not depending on Israel, the country has been involved in long-standing feud and conflicts and wars with the neighboring countries. And there are also almost constant threats to Israel and to its security, to the security of its population. I just want to ask you one of my last questions. Based on public opinion, could we say that the Israeli population and the society is growing wary of the ongoing wars, confrontations, and conflicts? Is the Israeli society already fed up of all this constant threat, constant conflicts, and so on?
Wow, it's a great question. I would have given you a different answer before October 7th, 23, when Hamas attacked Israel. Because before that, the sense of external threat was significantly reduced in Israel. Actually, before the Hamas attack of October 7th, many Israelis said maybe we should give up on a general conscription and have only professional army. Maybe we can reduce the military budgets and so on and so forth. People started to think about Israel as a more civil kind of a society, similar to Italy, to France, to wherever. However, after October 7th, 23, we are back to square one. Israelis see now the military capabilities as the only guarantee for their lives. And of course, they are worried of wars. Of course, they would have liked to see peace in the region, but nowadays it seems very, very far away from reality. Yesterday, I attended in the evening a conference about the chances of peace after October 7th, and people came from all over, from Ireland, from the United States, for whatever, but there was one common denominator. They all said that we do not see peace in the horizon, although everyone knows that until we have peace, we will have to experience further military challenges. So basically, people are tired, but they see it as their destiny to continue having to defend themselves. And the only defense that is being now perceived here in Israel as a real guarantee is the military defense. Whereas peace is, or diplomatic negotiations are being perceived as the cherry on top. But the basic is the military capabilities and preparedness, because we saw what happened when we were not prepared militarily.
Esteemed Professor, the last question of mine, the very last question, is associated with Iran. So it's also a common knowledge that Israeli state and army has fulfilled military operations within a very short period of time that has resulted with the defeat, if not defeat, yet with at least with weakening of this constant enemies of Israeli state and statehood as Hamas and Hezbollah, and overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria. So can we also predict and say that, because all the structures, all these organizations and the Syrian state, the Syrian regime before its collapse, all of them were linked and tied with Iran. So could we predict, could we say that something is being prepared for Iran too, for the regime that was formed in Iran in 1979, and that is the regime that is deeply hostile to Israel and to Israeli statehood?
Let me first mention that before Khomeini came back from Paris to Iran and revolutionized the entire Iranian regime, Israel and Iran were very, very close. militarily, commercially, you name it. So basically, the Iranian people and the Israeli people are not basically hostile to each other. Also, I would add that only yesterday we saw in the media here some plea of Iranian citizens who are saying Israel should hit Iran now in order for the people of Iran to topple the Islamic regime. Of course, Israel is not going to do that just in order to help the Iranian people who tried several times already to topple the Islamic regime and did not succeed. But I see great potential for an improvement because of the weakening of Iran, because of what you just mentioned. Okay, so Hezbollah was defeated, Hamas was defeated, the Assad regime collapsed. Now the question is, are the Iranian leaders are rational? If they are rational and not only motivated by their hatred towards Israel, and if the Israeli leaders would be open to start some kind of, I would say, baby steps in order to improve the relations, then it may change the entire, the entire region. Because if this rivalry, which took so much resources and energy from Iran on its side and from Israel on its side, and the danger of getting nuclear with, who knows what will happen. Both countries Israel is already a nuclear power. Of course, it is not said openly so by the Israeli government, but everyone knows that Israel has nuclear capabilities, which it didn't use thus far. And we hope that the Iranians will stop before getting nuclear in order not to have this even far-fetched possibility of nuclear encounter in this small region, a heavily populated region. So I suppose that we are standing in a crossroad, and depending what each side will take, which road each side will take, I surely hope that we will see both sides using this very, very unique and unexpected situation to alleviate the tensions between the two. It will certainly benefit the entire region and all nations of the region.
Dear esteemed Professor, thank you so much for your time and this deep and valuable insights that you have shared with us.
Thank you, Karim. I hope to talk to you in the future as well.
In the future. Thank you so much. Thank you.